In video games, the minigame has a long and storied tradition. Usually, it's a tradition of boring and fiddly mechanics. Like, can we talk about broken lockpicks in Skyrim, or all the inane things you have to do in Breath of the Wild to collect Korok seeds? Actually, I don't want this video to turn into a series of rants, so let's get on with the main topic. Hey there, I'm GM Jim of Wizards and Wordslingers, and thanks for watching my video. Today we're going to talk about mini-games, party games, and other optional encounters for the party to pursue. Recently I backed a Kickstarter. It's called Let the Games Begin, a compendium of mini-games and challenges for 5th edition by Ava's Adventures. I want to be real clear, they are not sponsoring this video and I've not been approached by this designer. I just thought the Kickstarter sounded cool and so I bought it. And I'm not going to do a full review of this book, but I am going to tell you about 7 mini-games and 2 new magic items from this book that I really enjoy, and I would encourage you to make notes on these and then keep them in your back pocket to drop into your TTRPG game whenever one seems like it would fit. And if you like this book, you can find it on the internet. Like I said, this is not a sponsored video. First up, let's do a simple party game. This is called Pin the Tail on the Owlbear, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Let's say we've got a humanoid settlement in the forest and an owlbear who lives nearby. It's a rite of passage to pin a fake tail on the creature. Now, someone in the party can play the game to possibly prove themselves worthy to the town, or the plot hook could be that someone didn't come back from their previous owlbear pinning quest, and the party is hired to investigate. But please try not to kill the owlbear? Maybe? Otherwise, run this just like any encounter that starts as non-combat but could turn into combat. The second minigame to steal from this book is one called Don't Spill the Soup. This is a simple, low-stakes, non-combat encounter you can run at any pub or tavern that serves food. The idea is a PC has to carry a full pot of soup across a restaurant without spilling any. Along the way, they face 3 challenges that require saves and checks to pass. You can see the list here of examples of complications you can add and how much soup is spilled for failing. And what I like about this minigame is that it's mostly just a fun, low-stakes encounter for the players to roll some dice and goof around. But you easily could make this a lot more high stakes. Say the party has come to town to urgently speak to the mayor, but the mayor won't hold court with you until everyone in the party passes the soup test. Or you could go full Squid Games with it and have these seemingly innocent games actually turn deadly by adding harsh penalties for failure. Next up, let's talk about wild table writing. One of my favorite things to do in a fantasy tabletop game is to take something from the real world and give it a quick fantasy makeover. It's usually good for a laugh when you do something like make a fantasy DMV where the party has to apply for permits to drive a wagon in the city. And wild table riding is basically a fantasy version of the bucking bronco machine you'd find at honky-tonk bars in America. The instructions here tell the GM to roll a d6 and that determines the check needed to stay on, but I don't really love this. I think we should just steal this basic idea, then when someone gets on the table it becomes like a skill challenge. Ask the player, what ability are you going to use to stay on this round? Then they make a check with a reasonable DC. If they pass, they stay on. Next round, pick a different ability, roll that with a slightly higher DC because the table is going to try harder and harder to buck you every round. Then at the end, count up the total rounds the PC stayed on before getting tossed. There could be a prize or just recognition or whatever. This is a very easy way to get level 1 PCs into an adventure. They meet at a tavern, some or all in the party try wild table riding at that tavern. Then an NPC quest giver comes over and says, "Good job riding the table, now how would you like to go on a real adventure?" Real quick, could you hit the like button and subscribe below? It only takes a second and it helps us both out. Make sure to click all next to notifications. Also click the join button to get exclusive perks when you become a member. The 4th minigame to steal is Spoons for Sleepy Sam. This one is mechanically sort of a blend of Don't Spill the Soup and Pin the Tail on the Owlbear. The gist is Sleepy Sam always naps at the bar and his friends started a game where they try to stick spoons in his bushy beard without waking him. And I think what I really like about this one is the idea that the party would stroll through a tavern door somewhere to find a dead silent tavern and a bunch of people shushing them as they walk in. That's a fun twist to me because you expect taverns to be raucous and rowdy, so a quiet tavern provokes curiosity. Mechanically, you make sleight of hand checks with a DC that increases for each successful spoon. You can have Sam wake with a failed check, or 3 failed checks, or whatever. You could also very easily make this much higher stakes if instead of a napping dwarf, it's a sleepy troll or ogre or something. And you want to offer some kind of reward if no one in the group fails. A logical reward would be that the party endears themselves to the townspeople. Our 5th game is an oldie but a goodie, and that's blackjack. The nice thing about blackjack is that a lot of people already know how to play it, and the rules are easy to learn if you don't know how. It's also a game that translates well from cards to dice. Each side rolls 2d10 with 1 dice shown and 1 hidden under a cupped hand. Then you can hit by rolling another 1d10 or you can stay. The goal is to score higher than the opponent without going over 21. And any rolled 1 on the die can count for a 1 or an 11. That's really all there is to it. It's so simple children can grasp it in seconds. And now you can always keep this in your back pocket as an option. A great hook for this is to make the party's target some high roller. The party has to gamble and prove themselves to get close to this NPC, sort of like Casino Royale. And along those lines of simple but fun, the next minigame is a dice game called Pig. This reminds me a lot of the real-life dice game Zombie Dice, which is an all-time favorite. The rules are deviously simple. Roll a d6. On a 2 to 6, you record that result as points. On a 1, your turn is over and you get nothing.
You get nothing! You lose!
After you roll the first time, you can push your luck and roll again to add to your point total, but if you ever roll a 1, you lose all points accumulated this turn, and that's basically it. Like blackjack, great game to keep in the back pocket, and also easy to make high stakes or low stakes based on who is playing and why. Our 7th and final game to steal is Hangman. Now, some immersion purists may not like this one because it breaks the 4th wall a little. But basically, here's the thing. A construct, like a roper, restrains the party and makes them guess letters in initiative as they play the game Hangman. Guess the word, the door opens or the chest unlocks or whatever it is. Guess wrong, you take damage. It's pretty simple. And this is probably one of those puzzles where you can expect the party to do everything they can to subvert the game. They'll try to escape the restraints, cast Hold Monster on the roper, search for a secret exit, and all kinds of other stuff. Because this one requires the party to be restrained, this is a good one to save for maybe after a TPK, if you don't actually want to kill the party. It seems like a TPK, but then the party wakes up in a dank dungeon, restrained, and forced to go the jigsaw killer puzzle route to escape. This is also a good one to keep in the back pocket for like a jailbreak scene. You don't need locked jail cells if you have a series of ropers along the ceiling keeping the inmates in line. Ooh, I kinda like that idea. A prison in a cave where all the guards are ropers. No one better steal that idea from me or I'm gonna be super mad. Just kidding. To finish things off, I want to highlight a couple of new magic items in the book I really liked. First is the Chomper Shield, which does what it says on the tin. If an enemy misses you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to force a dex save. And then the shield bites down for 2d4 damage plus a grapple. I just like the flavor of this one. And finally, the owlbear plushie. Oh, I love this thing. It's a magically infused stuffy doll that gives you advantage on a check if you spend a minute hugging the bear. Isn't that adorable? I think good roleplayers could really make a meal out of scenes with this toy. You know, like, this plushie belonged to my cousin Sarah before she was kidnapped and polymorphed into a cow. Now I must travel the land, showing this plushie to every cow I meet, hoping to see that spark of recognition in its eyes. That's ridiculous, but you get the point. So that's it, 7 minigames and a couple magic items to spice up your next D&D village, festival, or holiday for a change of pace. If you get this book and enjoy it, let me know in the comments what other minigames you fancy. Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, I'm GM Jim, now go have some fun.